It is Atlantean Vampire here. This might be the most important video I've ever posted in my time advocating and educating about vampirism, astral vampirism, or psychic vampirism. And I just completed my series, which is kind of trashy and poorly put together, and I went on side tangents, but I think I broke down everything that led up to it, and then when it got to it, I think I described everything fairly and in a way that has a form of intellectual honesty that no one else that talks about the subject uh, would, right? And those that are honest about it are usually only posting it to be ethical and be a part of the goth, emo, BDSM subculture, or to be respectably powerful when they talk about the subject, but they're not really talking about the subject. They're talking about the subject of the study of their self improvement, like D.H. Thorne, or what is that guy, Blackwood something, and or Michael W. Ford, one of the best examples of a sympathetic vampirism or vampire. I know V.K. Jahannam is one of us, as he says. He definitely smells like it. But yeah, this video has me nervous. This is probably the most dangerous video I've ever posted. And I asked a few like veteran occultist, both astral vampire and connected, or elemental vampire, what they thought. I revealed this, and a lot of them were like, "Yeah, that's a good way to get your house burnt down. That's a good way to lose your life. That's a good way to have a lot of people curse you." So yeah, I bought a new pack of hollow points and I've been training with my pistol just in the off chance that someone, that sees this video and doesn't understand the sacred point I'm trying to make and decides to hurt me or a loved one. Because like again, I've been stabbed over this. I've had a knife to my throat. It's not a good situation to be in. And again, I've lost a job over astral vampirism. And again, I have the gift of discretion, but it's my world too, right? It's my realm, and I'd like to participate in it and embrace my role without hiding. Now, that's novel, given that the nature is to hide, right? To be hidden, truly occult, to be elite. I suppose that's why most astral vampires are secret elitist. The good ones and the bad ones, just because we gotta keep it to ourselves. As there are, people don't realize this. If you've watched these videos up to this point, you're like, oh, there are actual vampires, spiritually at least, yes. There are also vampire hunters. There are actual people that have an occult practice. Their theology, cosmology, and metaphysics are dedicated to hunting people like me. Ironically enough, I'm associated with one of them and have helped them in the past, because when they realize the difference between what I am and what those that are truly vindictive and have no interest in the realm represent, like those that, and I don't really want to talk about it on this channel because it's very uncomfortable, what I had to go through, but if you know, the path of the Vampari, that any type of spiritual practice that has Wampari is the most sinister, fucked up, evil thing, whether sympathetic or natural, or unnatural, rather. Anyone that worships the seven, no. There are things that wouldn't qualify as what I am and wouldn't qualify necessarily as a spiritual practice, but a legitimate undead spiritual infection. Undead, not the same way as me, but more symbolic and less literal. And there are those that have practices where it's about basically taking over the realm, Earth, rather, infiltrating human society and enslaving it. Not about an equilibrium with nature, a food chain hierarchy, and things like that, and having the humility to accept that there are things greater than you. No, 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 no. Actual, like, there. People think the Order of the Nine Angles is bad, or the Illuminati. Yeah, those are bad, but there is a specific anti, or can't say anti because they like the cosmos in terms of, dominating it, but yeah, I'll just say it anyways. There is an anti cosmic death cult of vampirism that is much newer than the Illuminati and much more well established and serious about what they believe than things like the Order of the Nine Angles or the Dracon Covenant or things like that. If you know, you know. And there are brave men and women who have had family that have been killed. And they go full Sam and Dean Winchester and legitimately hunt these people and kill them. And like physically, like we're like a literal crusade. And while they're not, how do I put it? This Wampari death cult is so bad that there are people that, just regular civilians, that when they engage in going to this occultist person's house and burning it down with them in it, or decapitating them and doing incantations over their dead corpse to bind their spirit to the soil and have it fizzle away over time, these Wampari cultists are so horrendous that, with my experience with this group, and actually spiritually killing one of their members, which led to their physical death, in the trauma I had to endure, yeah, how do I put this? They are so bad that the people that literally are vigilantes, that will do what is legally considered domestic terrorism, that the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the CIA, MI5, MI6, SAS, whatever, they know about these people and they ignore them. They turn a blind eye because these people are so bad that the only way to deal with them is to do things that the government is not allowed to do. It goes past an occult practice and a form of magic and mysticism. There are people that are actually horrendous. They are what you consider disgusting conspiracy theories about the elite, but really, really fucking bad. And also, you know what? Out of context, how do I put this? If you ever are in a situation where you're spiritually dealing with this, if you're physically dealing with this, I can't help you. Just be as loud as possible and hope that attracts the right attention. But if you're spiritually dealing with something that falls under the umbrella of Wampari, I'm not going to edit that in. I've always been against the notion of destroying a soul, but learn the forbidden magic of destroying the soul. This is if one of these fuckers tries to hurt you, it is warranted to destroy their soul, because that's the only way the world will be rid of their filth. And I've mentioned in my video how horrendously evil it is to destroy a soul, and how I believe it's an anti-cosmic war crime. However, in this instance, I think anyone that knows the nature of Wampari practice knows that it's more of a war crime to have their soul exist. And I had to learn through literal, physical, psychological, and spiritual torture how to do this, and I just want to save you all the trouble. If you're spiritually being attacked by Wampari, you need to study some form of solar practice and Tibetan Buddhism. You have to learn actual, like, legitimate compassion, let go of all hate, because here's the thing, their souls are reconfigured to be nothing but abject hatred and suffering and domination and pure evil, like the most anti-compassionate thing ever. The only synthesis to their soul is compassion, like pure, like we're talking Jesus Christ, Buddha levels of compassion, and that is the most impossible thing when fighting Wampari. That is the most fucking horrid thing, because to have compassion towards such a thing is something that I don't think most people can do, and it's because that they always win, because they, yeah, and you have to learn how to channel that compassion into a Vajra. Now, I hope Wayland from the Black Tower is watching this. I remember I was in the middle of my battle with a high level Wampiric practitioner, and I asked him, I was like, what medium, what tool can be used to defeat the Wampari? And he said, try the Vajra. It's great for destroying, hyper predators and things like that. So I got the Vajra. I learned how to use it, but that's not good enough. So the Wampari, unlike other vampires in legend, they're not allergic to the sun. They don't die under the sun. They can utilize, and they're not disconnected from source. They can utilize elemental energy. They can feed on it, but they also feed on you. And it's not a practice. That they're different than any type of sympathy, because it's a legitimate infection to where they're still connected to source and they're infected. And their soul is infected. And that goes beyond them, which is why I say it's important to destroy their soul, because it's like preventing an outbreak of the flood from Halo. And technically they view their practice, their state of being, and whatever as a gift, as a privilege. So they're conservative about spreading it outwards, but they can. And if the wrong individual gets infected, it's a bad thing. Anyways, so their energy, the energy they can't stand, that will help dissolve and break away vampiric flesh, is uranic energy, the energy of Uranus. So what I did was I bought uranium rock on Amazon. I got uranium rock, and I had to learn how to channel uranic fire, but that's not good enough, right? It's actually, that's not what destroys it. That's what weakens them. Their spiritual immune system is weakened by uranic fire. It's the fire of Agni. You have to get holy fire, divine fire, right? Just from whatever deity it is, the most purest, holiest current of fire, right? Spiritually. And then you have to mix it with uranic energy. Uranic energy weakens them. It makes them vulnerable, but making them vulnerable doesn't destroy them. If you spiritually blast them with holy fire, does nothing. But if you make them weak with, it's been such a long time, oh, thank God. If you weaken them with uranic fire and then blast them with holy fire, it starts to actually dissolve them. And but that's not good enough, because that'll, in theory, destroy their spirit. You need to destroy their soul. And in order to destroy their soul, compassion through a Vajra doesn't necessarily do it. You have to learn how to channel uranic energy and holy fire and have it go within this thing. Another thing, I had to buy, I had to spend $70 on a grain of sand worth of iridium, element 77, iridium. When combating these things, I don't care if you're a high-level practitioner, no astral weapon given to you by a god or anything can cut through their flesh. Their spiritual flesh is like concrete. And Wampari spiritually, which is why I don't take on this form, because a lot of astral vampires do, but this is the form that they just naturally take, is a giant humanoid vampire bat with their wings, just turned, or their arms turned into wings. No wings on their back and then regular arms. Just giant vampire bat with gray concrete-like skin. Any type of astral weapon, any type of whatever it is, from any deity, will not work on them. And, no. And I'm not even going to say the kind of abilities they could do, because I would look like a crazy person. It is horrific what they can do. They are the most overpowered, disgusting beings ever. I'll say one. I was working at a Walmart deli. The Wampari I faced was a woman that was the mother of one of my friends, and she sexually, ritually abused him throughout his life. And he was basically enslaved by her. Like like enslaved, like illegally enslaved. The things she did to him mentally and physically and spiritually, horrific. And I agreed because I was at the height of my baneful practice, and I basically was really good at cursing and killing people. And I agreed, and I scouted her. Like, I was using remote viewing to scout her, figure out what was up with her, because I just thought she was a regular normie psychopath narcissist. And then I'm working at the deli, right? I'm working at the deli, I'm slicing meat, and I look over and I see her. She was supposed to be in Graz, Austria, the city of Graz. I saw her in the Walmart walking around and staring at me, pointing her finger at me. And I thought, maybe I'm hallucinating, and maybe if this isn't a hallucination, maybe this is her spiritually projecting. And then she started talking and interacting with people and asking them questions, just random people in the market. She created a psychic projection that was so potent that average unawakened people that didn't have their third eye open could interact and talk to her and thought she was actually there. And I pissed myself. I'm not going to talk about the torture I endured under her because I barely made it out alive, and I accidentally dragged friends into this, and they suffered irreparably. I had multiple friends that suffered because I didn't know what I was getting myself into. As a source of reference, I was channeling his life, and I saw him when he was a teenager, when he was like 14, right? And I saw something horrific. I saw her basically inviting a bunch of men over, right? She drugs her son. He's in bed naked. And she invites a priest, a firefighter, a police officer, a bunch of random people in, and they start giving her money. And then they go in there and they start anally raping him. And then after it, I was like, what the fuck? Like, I thought maybe I am just mentally twisted. Maybe I am just really like perverted and I need to kill myself. And and he was in the voice chat when I was channeling this, and I told him about it, and he started breaking down over the call because when he was that age, when he was 14 to like 16, he had hemorrhoids where he'd just black out in the middle of whatever he was doing. He'd drink a glass of water, he'd black out, and hours would go by, and he'd wake up with hemorrhoids. He would be bleeding from his ass, and he couldn't walk for multiple days. And in the channeling, I found that she was doing this as a vampiric ritual to initiate him because she wanted to make him what she was. Anyways, the iridium, element 77. No matter what you do, no matter what form of ritual, astral weaponry, it will not work on a vampiric practitioner. You need iridium, element 77, a type of platinum. Because if you attack them with iridium, if you get an astral weapon, and even just get a little bit of iridium, costs $70. It's worth it in case you ever have to deal with something like this, and you coat it in the spiritual essence of iridium, then you can cut through them like butter. I went through so much torture, and it took me so long before I realized this was a thing. But iridium. And another thing, wolfsbane. If you're infected, like I was, she tried infecting me, and it was the most horrific. The things she did to me spiritually blurred the line. Like what she did at Walmart, appearing, she did things to me so spiritually potent that it felt like it was physically happening, with tentacles, like the scene with the vine rape from The Evil Dead. I will not elaborate. It has been hard. Like, I dropped out of the occult after I killed her and went to the Orthodox Church and was trying to find Christ because I couldn't handle it anymore. Because what I had to go through, no human being, and no one, people I don't like, I don't think should ever have to go through what I went through. It was one of the most horrific, evil experiences I've ever had to go through. Anyways, wolfsbane, if you take wolfsbane homeopathic, it basically slows down the infection. And you can clear the infection using uranic energy and holy fire. And I created an anti-vampiric lamp that had uranium in it, and it had scrolls of Agni. and it basically, I burned a little charcoal disc on top of it, with wolfsbane in the incense, and it would create a type of smoke that would clear out the room of any growth. Because vampiric essence is so infectious, it'll start growing on your walls if one of them targets you. It takes one spiritual spore for it to get into your system, and that is completely by design. They don't accidentally release spores. It's always intentional, and they can grow a part of them inside of you and take you over. And I unfortunately witnessed this happen to my friend when he, at the end of it, after she died, he switched sides. Like, whatever he did was not clearing himself, like he said, and he spiritually horrendously tortured me, and I had to basically spiritually euthanize, like, or rather, I cleared his infection, but I spiritually shut him down and made it so he would never be able to harm another human being. Um, what I had to go through, it was so, like he sided with his mom. After his mom was gone, a switch went off, like, it's my turn. And no, it, like, the things it can do to a person's mind is beyond anything I have ever seen. It was something that completely broke me, and I didn't think I would bring it up in this video, but after I spiritually infused my Vajra with pure compassion, with holy fire, um, with uranic energy, with iridium, and stabbed it into the core of her being, destroying her. What happened was probably the most humiliating and degrading experience I had ever had to go through. One moment. That's not enough. Yeah. Anyway. So after that, every account I ever had on any platform, any app, was hacked. My social security information was hacked. Everything. And the leader, or one of the people in this cult, contacted me. And they said, well, Matt, okay, I can't believe you actually did that. That she was one of our higher ranking members. And basically, they said they revealed the names of my family, all my friends, and they said, wow, she was an absolute lion, and you're just a pathetic sheep. The fact that you figured out how to end her. She was a strong lion, but imagine if a sheep like you could become a lion, how much more stronger you would have been than her. And they offered me everything. They offered me, and I don't know if any of this is true. I literally have no idea whether any of this is true. Hold on. Of course, that's how that goes. No idea if any of this is true. They offered me a private jet. They offered me access to occult literature that was supposedly burned in the witch trials. They offered to make me what they were. And I refused, but there was a part of me that was weak and cowardly and thought maybe. And I said no, absolutely. If you want me, kill me, but don't leave my family out of this. Leave my friends out of this. And what happened was, these sickos, like, they had photos of my family, and I wanted to go to the FBI. I wanted to report this, but you can't explain a situation like this. And they said, don't worry, you're protected, because if a sheep like you could slay a lion, you've earned our respect. In fact, most people that try to hunt us do it so they can get it in, which I can't comprehend such a thing. Yeah. Nightmare fuel. They said, don't worry, we'll leave you alone. But I've never had such I've never been so degraded. I've never been so humiliated and so thoroughly broken down. And I don't know how I got out of this situation alive. If this is a horrible thing to say, but if I could have left him to his fate, this kid that was being abused, and just not cut off all contact, if I knew what I was getting myself into, I would have left him. I don't care how horrible that sounds, but yeah. This video was going to be about a completely different subject, but I've been wanting to say this for so long, and I've been scared. I've been avoiding this. It's been like 2 years now, and I have to reclaim my life back somehow. And if someone else is going through this, I have given you the tools you need to survive this, and that's the only way you're going to get out of it. The only way I was able to form some amount of dignity and get my life back was because an actual order of hunters hit me up. People in which their family members had been raped, dismembered, molested, tortured, like Abu Ghraib type stuff, like Guantanamo Bay stuff. These people are fucking ruthless. And they didn't even give a shit about the astral vampires. And they're like, no, that's not the same. This is completely different. And they saw that I killed this thing. It hardly qualifies as a person, and didn't join them. And they told me to stay out because if I were to pursue this path, I would have to leave everything behind. I would have to leave my family, my friends. I would have to fake my own death because what is required to deal with these kind of people is horrific. And I asked selfishly, am I protected? Will you look out after me? And they told me, and I have no, if I was interrogated by the FBI, I wouldn't know I wouldn't know these hunters or the Wampori how to get in contact with either. They're the kind that do not get seen unless they want to be seen. They do not talk to you unless they want to talk to you. So this order, how do I put this? They basically said that they would always keep an eye on me. There'd always be someone in my neighborhood, not because they actually care about me, but because they want to kill these people. So if these people ever get in contact with me, they will hack my account to hack that person's account. And which I get it, but also that kind of made me feel like chopped liver. But to hear such a thing, to know that, if you have an unstoppable force, that could destroy your life, and then in an actual immovable object that's like, we got you. And being put in the middle of that is an entirely different sensation in and of itself, but it's better than being left to deal with the unstoppable force. I don't even feel safe making this video. Like, I was going to talk about something that actually related to astral vampirism, but I had to lay my heart bare. If anyone ever has to deal with such fucking pure evil that actually threatens our world, that threatens people, like those are the best tips I can give. To consume wolfsbane, to do mantras to Agni, and to get legally sourced uranium, which you can buy on Amazon. But yeah, I wouldn't know how to, like, if I was interrogated by some type of government authority, I wouldn't know how to get in contact with these people. What I was trying to say earlier about vampire hunters is there are orders that spiritually engage, that I know personally, that legally engage in these types of things where they hunt people like this. And those like me that are astral vampires, they tend to shoot first and ask questions later. I was going to reveal something that would put me back in their crossfire, but actually this is such an issue, and I really, if I die, I didn't commit suicide, by the way. I'm just saying I love my life, and I don't know if I'm going to post this genuinely frightens me, but I thought it'd be worth posting. So yeah, this completely separate video topic, but I don't think there's, like, you think there are things out there that are like these things, these people are ruthless. And the only way to deal with them is to take people that have an equal amount of ruthlessness. And I don't feel safe making this video, but as a human being, after everything I've had to go through, not as an astral vampire, as a human being, the way in which I was tortured by these people, I would never wish on another human being. So if an enemy of mine that I would wish dead is going through this, like, take this advice. Like, this is the freebie. Like, take this information and survive. Because as far as I'm concerned, like, if anyone knew of how bad these people were, every polarized force would gather together. And anyone, like the most sickest fucked up elite and the most vibrant freedom fighters would be like, hey, let's deal with this tomorrow and focus on that. These things are, and I encountered a Wampari, a low-level Wampari, way before I knew anything about Necroscope. It was only after I read Necroscope that I realized that Brian Lumley must have channeled some of this, like H.P. Lovecraft. The books are very embellished with fiction, the trilogy, but they give a lot of detail that has subtle truths. And if you know how to read between the lines, I think he wrote those books as a warning to humanity, because it conveys, like, they're the most terrifying, eldritch, Lovecraftian depiction of the stereotypical vampire. Like, the first book is so horrific that the mere undead consciousness of one of them is an existential threat to humanity. And that's not too far off from the truth. These things are so fucking horrific and abominable. I would never wish anyone to ever, like, there's like maybe 1 in 50 people that will ever have to deal with this. And thank fucking God. I need a moment to just make another video to cover the subject that I wanted to cover. But this is something that I guess I'm making it, right? I mean, I guess I'm making it. I hope no one ever has to deal with such a thing.